we can all breathe a sigh of relief.
Really?
Barack Obama has decided to order new security measures to foil terror plots.
Yay!
Wow. I was so worried.
I mean,
rest
why
easy.
did he do this before?
Well, I don't know. Not that this is anything important.
No, this is stupid government bullcrap.
Yeah, it's posturing.
Same thing over and over again. But I mean, one has to ask the question: why, with the largest expansion of government ever under the Bush administration, why the hell wasn't this done then?
Well, they did. He said the same things then. Let me get to some of the quotes here. I mean, it's essentially the same speech or whatever. It's just given by Barack Obama.
I swear they must hire the same people to write these things.
Bloomberg reporting that Barack Obama has said, "The buck stops with me," yesterday as he ordered measures to improve intelligence operations and security screening in response to the attempted bombing of an airliner on Christmas Day. To foil future attacks, Obama directed heads of the main U.S. intelligence agencies to set clear lines of responsibility for following up leads on terrorist threats and to bolster the system for adding names to watch lists.
Because responsibility, that's what the government's about. All those bureaucrats, they want nothing more to do than to take responsibility when something goes wrong.
Yeah, don't you worry. Obama himself will take responsibility here in a moment.
Oh, wow.
As though that means anything.
With his superpowers.
These people can't be held responsible because they steal money. There's no way. It doesn't matter if they set clear lines of anything or reorganize this or increase funding to that.
The Supreme Court has ruled over and over and over and over and over again that the government isn't responsible for what it does to protect you. So the very idea...
But that's not what Obama says.
I don't care what Obama says. He's lying.
That's not what Bush said.
He's lying too. They're politicians. Democrats or Republicans, same thing. I mean, the Supreme Court has ruled there's no responsibility there, so there's no responsibility. And they're not going to act like they're responsible when they're not.
You'll love this. Obama said that agencies and their leaders will be held accountable if they don't carry out the necessary changes. He also said he wasn't interested in passing out blame for the December 25th incident. So on one hand, he says, I am going to hold these agencies accountable in the future, but we're not going to hand out any blame for what happened in the past.
This time.
So, yeah, we're going to be responsible in the future, but we're not going to hold anybody responsible for what already went by. But trust us, from now on, we're going to hold these people to the flames.
Yeah, we'll get around to it when we feel like it.
Next time,
you believe it,
we'll
right?
be responsible.
Again, the story here says that and I love how they're going to bolster the system for adding names to the watch list. Now, don't you worry about getting your name off of the watch list because that's impossible. There is no system for that. He's not worried about all those people that have had their names confused with alleged terrorists that are on the watch list and have, had their lives basically crapped on.
But it's easy now to get on the watch list, but it's it's just as impossible to get off.
Exactly. So he said that, this is his quote, "As president, I have a solemn responsibility to protect our nation and our people, and when the system fails, it is my responsibility." Which is pretty much the same thing that George Bush has said. You heard him repeat over and over again that it's his job as president to protect the country. And that's not the president's job, right? The president's job, constitutionally at least, is to essentially enact or veto legislation and be the head of the executive branch.
He's swindler in chief.
Yeah, but there's no actual responsibility of, as you pointed out, Mark, the government to do anything at all, and that includes the president. The Supreme Court has made it pretty clear, and Mark Stevens over at Adventures in Legal Land, or markstevens.net, has cited those in
If you're
his
questioning
works.
This in your mind, listener,
it's something they're going to be shocked about. I mean, they've been told forever that the government's there to protect them.
If you think that the government is there to protect you, I'd ask you this question. When the cops fail to protect your house from getting broken into, do you get to send them a bill for everything that got stolen? No, it's ludicrous that you'd be able to do such a thing. Why? Because they're not responsible for your house being broken into. They're not responsible for protecting it. Now, one might be able to guess that if you would be able to come with a contract with a security company that says, hey, if my house gets broken into, I'm going to pay you X number of dollars per month, and if my house gets broken into, you're responsible for compensating me for it. One can imagine that. But one can't imagine the government security agency doing that because the government isn't responsible.
The new policies and procedures outlined by the president and his advisors are intended to correct what Obama called systemic failures in the sifting of intelligence data to more quickly identify terrorist threats. In fact, Mark, you had a story.
He's right about systemic failures.
You had a story last night, and I don't know if you have it handy, but if you could pull it up, it would be great, about how, I guess what you told me, that these federal agencies, the FBI, the CIA, there's all these encouragements out there to, if you see it, report it. Call 1-800-whatever and snitch on your neighbors.
Right.
And apparently they're getting so many reports that they don't actually have the ability to filter through them in any meaningful fashion. So it's completely a wash.
Right. So they've put up these methods for people to snitch on whomever it is that they wish to snitch on, and they're doing it in droves, and there's not enough bureaucrats to sift through it.
Well, we just need to hire more bureaucrats.
God knows if we did do that, how awful life would be, because everybody would be a suspect at that point. But I've got it right here whenever you're ready.
Yeah, just pull that up. The report said that the counterterrorism systems and watch lists need to be improved rather than overhauled. What does that mean exactly? Don't they normally use the term?
It doesn't. We don't need to, even though we have a systemic problem, we don't need to change the system. We just need to tweak it a little bit.
Well, normally they love using terms like overhaul, and how they love to brag about how it's the biggest reorganization the federal government has seen in decades.
It's just talking points, Ian. They got to say the word overhaul.
Yeah, they're just trying to sell their view on any particular subject, and in this particular subject, it happens to be, we'll do more this time, and we promise, and
we are at war.
Yeah.
We are at war against Al-Qaeda, said Obama. We will do whatever it takes to defeat them. So, how will you know when you've defeated them?
What is Al-Qaeda?
Are we still at war with them? I didn't even know that.
Al-Qaeda is the name that the CIA gave to some mujahideen or whatever that were in Afghanistan that we were funding during the Soviet war over there, and then they just kind of expanded the definition. Al-Qaeda doesn't mean anything. It's a U.S. intelligence label for people that don't take that label. So how can you know if you've beaten people that don't call themselves what it is you're calling them?
You don't.
Right.
That's the idea, right? It's the
We've
eternal
beaten the
war.
boogeymen because we say we have.
It's over when they say it is.
Which will be never, just like the war on drugs. These people will never want to end the war on terror because it is yet another source of power and opportunity for them.
Oh, yeah. And revenue.
So, again, just more posturing here. And, the story goes on to talk about how, I guess, the underwear bomber has been indicted, and they ruled the government had sufficient information to have potentially disrupted the plot by identifying him as an al-Qaeda operative and preventing him from boarding the flight in Amsterdam. No single component of U.S. counterterrorism operations assumed responsibility for the threat reporting and followed it through by ensuring that all necessary steps were taken to disrupt the threat. Nobody took responsibility.
Right.
Wow.
So they had information. They could have done something. They didn't.
Way to go, guys.
Make sure you pay your taxes this year. 800-259-9231. That's the SACL CAI toll-free line. You can bring up whatever's on your mind because, man, this is some great service, isn't it? 1-800-259-9231. Of course, we're leaving aside the fact that the government itself creates terrorism by going and terrorizing people around the world, dropping bombs and killing them. That's another point. More coming up here. You can bring up anything. 800-259-9231. It's Free Talk Live.